You are carrying the weight of the world right now. And I know you know it. I know it. And I know it's not easy for you to express it. I know it's not easy for you to share it. And even if someone cared to ask, what is it they would do? You have bills, you have your relationships, you have the pressure, the stress, the person that you're becoming. And it seems like all the work that you're doing is leading nowhere. You're back in the same situations. Maybe it's even worse. And you know you're not supposed to think this way, but you find yourself thinking this way. You find yourself going into those dark places that you've fought so hard to get out of. And yet, here you are, back at square one, feeling alone, feeling exhausted, feeling overwhelmed, feeling drained, feeling confused, feeling like you don't even know where to begin. I'm just here to tell you that I might not even have the perfect words for you, but I have a space for you that I think will be nourishing, and I'd love for you to join me. I'm Jason, by the way. I'm a teacher, a mentor, a liver of life, a son, a brother, a husband, and soon to be father, God willing. And I'm living this life right alongside you. And I just have felt like I am meant to be the one experiencing heaviness, the hardness, the difficulty. And part of that is because I have a big vision of what's possible in this world, what's possible for myself, what's possible for my family. And I tell my students all the time, I'm going through this journey with you. And I just want you to know that if you're in that place where you feel alone, that is going to be one of the first things I encourage you to start reframing. Because a lot of us, we learn that isolation is a safe space for us. Not safe in the type of world that we want to be living in, not safe in that our nervous system perceives us to be safe, because in fact we don't feel safe. We feel a ton of stress, a ton of pressure, a ton of fear, a ton of anxiety, a ton of scarcity, not just in time, but in energy and in money and in resources. And all of that is leading to an experience that keeps you stuck in these negative feedback loops. It keeps you stuck in these places where it feels like you can't get out. And what you've learned over time is that isolation is the place where that all goes away. Let me retreat into a cave. Let me go someplace where I can be with myself to let all of this simmer. And that process isn't the worst. There is a beauty in that process. It works for what it works for. It works to decrease the pressure, to let the stress wear off. But where it falls short as a strategy is in you actually stepping into your potential. And this is why your potential can feel like it's just on the other side of a glass. You can see it, but you can't quite touch it. And there's a different way. There's another way. What I teach people is the way of the flow, the way to stop forcing and start flowing instead. And this was a way that was very unfamiliar to me. The way that I always operated was through force. I grew up with a background in sports and with a background in grit and determination, and I'm going to my will be done. I'm like a mini god, right? I am going to enforce my will on the world around me. And I've gotten pretty far doing that. I was able to succeed athletically. I was able to succeed academically. I was able to succeed in my career. But it never really shifted these feelings of being alone. Never really shifted these feelings that I would go into isolation and feel like I was questioning my existence, and questioning what I was going through, and feeling like there was no one that could possibly understand. Struggling with self-confidence, struggling with doubt, having an inability to trust myself, having an inability to follow through on projects, blaming it on things like ADHD, blaming it on my addictive personality. And what I've learned is that there's actually a different truth occurring. There's actually a different truth occurring in what's called your somatic body, your energy body. Think about when somebody says something hurtful to you or does something hurtful, and maybe you're so calloused that you can't even feel that. But maybe something that upsets you, makes you angry. Notice what that feeling is. Does your stomach turn? Does your chest tighten? Does your throat tighten? Does your forehead heat up? Do your cheeks heat up? These are somatic sensations. These are sensations of the body. And we're taught, not necessarily consciously, to ignore those feelings. We're taught to focus on the mind. And the more we focus on the mind and we reach some degree of success, the more that habit becomes ingrained, and we become disconnected to who we are. We become disconnected to the human machine, the human animal, the human organism. We are human animals. We're mammals. And our existence, the way we operate, the way we function, the way our body functions, is in accordance with that animalness. It's so easy to become so engrossed in the capacity of our thinking mind. But our thinking mind often is a strategy for staying stuck. It's a strategy for avoiding the discomfort that we feel within ourselves. And so you might be in a place where you feel like the world is caving in on you. You might feel like you're carrying the weight of the world, and I have no doubt that you are. And it's the places that you go in your mind, rather than feeling what those feelings are in your body, that are keeping you in the same experience. And you might want to stay in the same experience. There's no rule that says you have to get out of the experience that you're in. You can stay in an experience of feeling alone, feeling overwhelmed, feeling tired, feeling exhausted. You can stay in that place for as long as you want. There's a lot of benefit to staying there, in the sense of, often that's where we form the seeds of a new identity. It's often where lessons are learned. It's often where, in that pain and in that difficulty, where we can change, where we can take meaningful action and make meaningful progress on our personal development journey. And so if that's you, you're allowed to stay there for as long as you want. What I recommend is give yourself the space to stay there if that's what you want to do. Stop fighting yourself. What you resist persists. So the more you fight where you are, the harder it's going to be to leave. It's going to continue to persist. So allow it to be there. And you might be in a place where you're ready for something new. You've come to this moment, you've attracted this moment into your life right now. This moment right here where you're listening to me talk, doing whatever you're doing, and something's resonating with you, and you're saying, it is time for something new. It is time to heal this pattern. It's time to integrate myself in community rather than in isolation. It's time to give myself a hug. It's time to get a hug, to give a hug, to be united with my fellow brothers and sisters, versus trying to do this on my own. And it just may be that this time is an opportunity for you to lean into something new and lean into something different. And if that's you, I want that for you. I want you to know that that's possible. I want you to have safety in that. I want you to find that in your life. One of the things that I've realized, so I moved to San Diego about 5 years ago now, and this was after living in San Francisco for a while, and I had originally grew up on the East Coast, and I had never really felt like I had true brotherhood Like I had my group of friends, but they always seemed like friends based on convenience, friends based on proximity, friends based on just the people that I happened to be around. And as a result, I always, again, felt alone. I always felt misunderstood. I always felt like I was different from everybody else. I remember saying when I was young, I feel like an alien. I feel like I don't even belong here. And I didn't even know if I would make it to 30. And one of the things that I recognized, especially when I grew up, I spent a lot of time on sports teams, spent a lot of time in the community of brotherhood, fighting together towards a particular outcome. And once I left college, that sort of evaporated and it sort of got semi-replaced by the experience of being in the corporate world, working at a tech startup. And while that replaced some aspect of it, it didn't replace something deeper. It didn't replace a feeling of belonging. It didn't replace a feeling of trust. It didn't replace a feeling of community and safety and just the willingness to be. Because at work in those places, I always felt like I was performing a particular version of myself. I was always presenting a version of myself that I hoped people would like. And when I left, there was this vacuum. There's this sort of vacuum of like, who am I? Who are my people? Where is my tribe? And I moved down to San Diego without knowing anyone. And I set about immersing myself in that type of tribe, in those types of communities. I went dancing, I played sports, I did all sorts of activities to immerse myself in community, met some really amazing people. Ended up meeting my wife. And through my wife, I've met a ton of amazing people. She has a really incredible knack for finding and attracting awesome people. She's attracted some rotten apples in there too, which I always love to give her a little crap for. But by and large, some of my favorite people I've met through her. And one of the things that I think has been so important in my life has been the development of a men's group. And so if you're in a place, especially as a man, where you feel alone, the development of a group that has structure, that has regularity, that embodies traits of masculinity, accountability, rigor, discipline, some of these things that I resisted a lot. I'm a Cancer. I'm kind of I teach flow. I am very in touch with creativity and feminine attributes. But at the end of the day, I'm a man. I am a man, and masculinity is at the root of my expression of who I am. And so being surrounded by brothers, I remember the first time we met as a group. We had 6 of us together at my house. And my wife she went out and she did something with the ladies. And there were 6 of us and we were sitting around in the kitchen. And it was just like 6 dudes just standing there. I was like, man, I'm like, my voice is getting lower. I'm really liking this experience. I'm standing up straighter. I'm just feeling the testosterone flowing through my body. Just being here. This isn't pretending. This isn't faking. This isn't trying to go to the gym. This is just being around genuine brothers. And so if you are a man and you're listening to this, find brotherhood. Create a space where you all can gather together with intentionality. I'll tell you our exact structure for this. We meet the 3rd Sunday every month at 9 a.m. We have a 2-hour meeting block. Everyone is expected to be there on time, present, ready to rock at 9 o'clock. When we show up, we do some brief breath work. We open the space then after about 5-10 minutes of breath work, we open the space for general sharing. We keep that space limited to about 20 to 30 minutes. And then at that point, what we do is what we call the hot seat mastermind, where each brother has the opportunity to share, to speak to the group about what is on his heart. And then the group has the chance to offer reflections, ask questions, offer advice, share resources. And that's done on a timer so that everything stays within a beautiful structure. Now, that process is something that we've defined over time and made adjustments to. And it really works for our group of men. You might like that structure as the starting point. Get your brothers together. And if you're a woman watching this, get your women together. My wife, Emily, loves her time with her women. So this is really important. It's a really healing energy. And if you think back to the idea of your humanness, like your human animalness, we would have survived in tribes. Men would go out and hunt. Women would stay back at a village. It's in our bones. It's in our design to operate this way. And I'm telling you, when I put myself in that situation, I felt myself activated in a way that I can't fake. I felt myself activated in a way that no tool, no teaching, no book, no self-help, no podcast could replicate. Just being in presence. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is I invite you into a more interesting life. I invite you to step outside of the patterns of your experience. This means following the flow, doing something different, taking a new direction, taking a new path home, going somewhere new, doing something uncomfortable, trying something new, squeezing every lost drop out of life. And I'll admit, this is something that I can tend to forget at times when I'm stressed out, when I'm trying to build my businesses, when I'm constantly thinking about creative ideas and projects that I can use to help create a future and a foundation for my family. It's heavy stuff. But sometimes I kid myself into the overthinking, the overproductive, the I need to be productive 24/7. I'm going to listen to a podcast while I'm falling asleep. I'm going to listen to an instructional video while I'm getting in the shower. This emphasis on productivity is more of a fixation and more of a function of something like ADHD, which we can think of as an escape from a physical discomfort. And so it's all related to the same thing. It's all related to how we're feeling. And it's all related to an avoidance of our own discomfort, our own experience. In the pathway through, I think there's a couple options. 1, put yourself in community. 2, do more interesting things. I would say 3, experiencing some of the healing modalities that exist within the plant medicine world. And if you're interested in more about this, I'm happy to speak offline about it. You can send me an email, jason@saintsoflow.com. I'd be happy to speak more with you about that. And then other somatic experiencing modalities, number 4. So things like somatic experiencing, internal family systems, parts work, inner child healing, all of that work is very similar. It's all correlated to you becoming more in tune with what's happening in your body. Because the truth is, what's happening in your body is meant to guide, it's meant to direct your experience as a human animal. It's not here. The problem isn't your anxiety. The problem isn't your depression. The problem isn't your overthinking or how easily you're able to get distracted. Those are all symptoms. Those are all signals. And the work that is to be done from a healing perspective is being able to hold all of that, being able to hold your entire experience with love. It's to hold your entire experience with warmth and curiosity and gentleness, to love your inner parts, to love the difficulty, to love the things that hurt. And this isn't gaslighting. This isn't a cliche. This is the real truth about what's needed for healing. So many people think that healing is the process of changing the past. I know they won't tell you that out loud, but they'll be caught in this space of like, if my dad didn't say that, if my mom didn't say that, then I wouldn't be so damaged. And so they're just fighting against what happened. But the truth is that healing exists right now in the present. Healing exists in this moment, in giving yourself and the parts of you that are hurting whatever it is that they need in order to come back to this moment. Because the flow, which exists all around you at all times, can be accessed through presence. And not just any type of presence, not just focusing on your breath, sure, but being in a space where you're in appreciation for what's happening, where you're in a state of curiosity and of wonder about what's happening, when you're able to access joy. And when you live a life where you consistently bring yourself back to these places, that's when all the magic happens. Julian, who is my dear friend and mentor, would say, appreciation is the currency of the universe. And I consider appreciation to be the grease on the wheels of transformation. Whenever you're stuck, simply adding appreciation, simply wondering, how might I recognize the value in what I'm seeing? And this goes beyond just being grateful. Being grateful is an internal experience. Like, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel grateful. Appreciation is an actual activity. I'm recognizing the value in this thing. I'm not just saying, I feel grateful that this is happening. I'm actually thanking the thing for its happening, which is adding energy to the system and adding the power you're going to feel as a result of doing this practice. And I know I've shared a lot, so I'm going to pause here. Feel free to ask some questions. Feel free to send me an email. Feel free to comment if you have any questions or you want me to go deeper on any of these topics. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you around.